The inaugural memorial lecture of the life and times of Isithwalandwe Andrew Mlangeni takes place tomorrow. He would have turned 96 years old. So the day is expected to kick off at the Roodepoort cemetery in Dobsonville with the laying of wreaths at the June and Andrew Mlangeni gravesites, which will be led by former President Kgalema Motlanthe. So following that, the University of Johannesburg will host a dialogue with youth leaders in partnership with the June and Andrew Mlangeni Foundation. To chat a bit more about this, the chairperson of the foundation, Prof Hlengiwe Mkhize, joins me now. Prof, a very good evening to you. Thanks indeed for your time. So talk to us about the theme of this inaugural lecture and the significance of it.
Good evening to the listeners. Good evening, Griselda. Thank you so much for picking up this issue and elevating it. Basically, we have chosen the theme of looking at issues of morality and ethical leadership. Maybe I can quickly justify why such a theme. Is because Tate Mlangeni, after the conference in Mangaung, he was a first person to chair the Integrity Committee. And that's part of his struggle. Is quite significant because even the NEC of the ANC was really not ready to implement. But so we honor him because he was a lonely voice. He fought it out publicly. He criticized within, but he never gave up. Till his last birthday, when he turned 95, he wanted the ANC to dominate. He said, "This is my home. I'm against corruption. I am against unethical leadership, but this is my home. I'm who I am because of them." Hence, to the gravesite will go with the leadership of the ANC, just to make sure that we assist, especially young people, to appreciate his contribution, his life, his times.
Professor, and I'm glad you bring this up because Tate Mlangeni spent his entire life fighting for human rights. If we look at the state of the country today, some communities are still without basic needs like water. And you picked up on this point as well, the country riddled with corruption. I mean, what would he say today when he looks at the current state of South Africa?
You know, luckily, Griselda, we're talking about a veteran who left us yesterday. You know, he will openly, you know, talk to each and every leader who happens to visit him against corruption, how it's costing the poor, and also poor service delivery. You know, he used to say, there's a reason why I remain a Dube, even when I've an opportunity to move to a better place, maybe in Cape Town or wherever. But I cannot abandon the people who built me up, who supported me, who identified me as somebody who could be trusted for big responsibilities. Whenever he spoke about being chosen and taken out of the country for training at that time in the armed struggle, he would say, who would have chosen a no-brand, an ordinary boy from the Free State, from the poorest family, who lost the father at the age of 9, survived on his own. So we really think, out of all the big names that we often talk to the young people about, especially during this month, it's really quite significant that they unpack his life, which is open life. It's not a high-flying life, but it's ordinary life, but who made a huge contribution.
And Professor, indeed, I mean, this is taking place as we head towards June 16. We obviously remember those young, gallant fighters who, you know, took to the streets for their rights. I mean, one could also ask, given that you're also having this dialogue with young people tomorrow, What is the future of young people in this country? I don't want to mean to sound negative, but if you just look at unemployment amongst young people being at an all-time high, these are questions certainly that need to be raised and answers need to be given to them if we are truly to look at the legacy and the contribution of Ntate Mlangeni and say that his fight was not in vain.
Certainly, it's important to all come out and say why it's important to reflect on the month of June. I mean, if you look back, June 16, I always say that struggle was waged by ordinary poor people from places like White City, Jabavu, where they shared a toilet, 3 families outside there. But because they realized that it should be in their hands, and Mandela said, we really have to push our youth. I don't see them as victims like elderly people who are beneficiaries of state grants, but they are young people with energy. They are young people who are innovative by virtue of being young. June 16, young people will take big stones, tiny 9, from 8, 9, 12, 16 was too, they were big and grown up, and block the police and say, the police are not gonna enter this street, we are in charge. And they waged the resistance and they led the parents with no support. I still believe with young people today, we can confront President Ramaphosa and say, you have put on the table a grand plan. Here we are, we're bringing nothing except our youthfulness, our energy, and our determination to fight, to take the struggle forward. And I do believe the conditions of today, they are conducive of great things compared to the dark era, colonial era, apartheid era, where really, when you look back, you say, but what did you think? How would you confront the police, the army, who will come and take a young person, bang the head on the stone and kill that person, and nothing will happen? So today we're better off. What we want to say to young people, in what I see happening at NISA tomorrow, actually to make a correction, it's not UJ, it's the University of South Africa. Because they had honored him and gave him an honorary doctorate. Hence, we thought it's important to go back to them to say, these honorary professorship, associate professorship, doctorates can't be just posturing for immediate gain, but there should be benefit for young people. Universities have the constituency of young people whom you need to say, it's in your hands. Of course, they have to ask how. This, they will give you all the wrong things. But we say the struggle should be waged in a similar manner as our Isithwalandwe and many other senior leaders did out of nothing.
Professor, I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you for that, of course, the June and Andrew Mlangeni Foundation, together with the University of South Africa, that inaugural, of course, lecture taking place tomorrow. Given that we're also in the month of June, a dialogue will be taking place with young people at the University of South Africa tomorrow. And I'm sure, without a doubt, some of the challenges facing young people will definitely come up at that inaugural lecture. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight.